Belçum bayda tavırım, cağısı cefet yon kharap panimi, da gutte bedimi.
There's no crueler place to wring a living from the land than the far north of Pakistan. This is the meeting place of the great mountain ranges of Asia and of the furthest frontiers of Russia, China, India and Afghanistan. The terrain is brutal, the soil thin, the water scarce, the climate merciless. Clinging to the mountain sides on tiny terrace plots and scattered through the valley floors, there are nearly 1 million people. The mountain walls keep them isolated from the outside world and from each other. Always they've lived on the edge of extinction. They struggle to survive family by family. To see their children fed, they've cut down the trees, eroded the soil, overgrazed the pasture. To enrich their lives to any real degree would seem impossible. They need so much. They have no organization, no capital, apparently no hope. Until the turn of the century, every valley was a fortress, reached by secret paths and fragile bridges of rope and brushwood, made deliberately treacherous to trap the outsider. Each tiny kingdom was ruled by a strong man or mir. They were all hard men for a hard world. Some were careful of their land and people. Some were ruthless and profligate, growing rich by raiding the caravans on the trade routes beyond the passes and selling slaves in the markets of Barakshan. The mirs had the power to organize their people, to build terraces and irrigation channels, to carry the water of the melting glaciers to the cultivated land. For the mountains that keep out the invading armies also keep out the monsoon rain, and without irrigation, all the of grain, pasture and fruit trees would be barren deserts. But all the land and all the water was in the gift of the mir. There was never enough for everyone, and most families stayed miserably poor. Through the centuries, the essentials of their way of life did not change. In the 1970s, the government of Pakistan deposed the mirs and dissolved their kingdom, and gave the land to the tiller. But the small holdings were tiny, and without leaders to organize the labor, the water channels fell into disrepair. For the small farmers of the northern areas, life was as hard as ever. Their condition would seem almost hopeless. But in the 1970s, the Great Karakoram Highway was completed, one of the most astonishing roads ever built. A motor road running all the way from Islamabad to the Chinese border. It was built at enormous cost in time, money, and human life. And for the people struggling to survive in these isolated valleys of the north, it could indeed be the road to a better world. Shukri Begum is 85 years old. 3 times a day she has to walk 2 kilometers to fetch water for her large family. But in the last few years, a new spirit has been moving in these mountains, a spirit that's already bringing changes in a pattern of life set firm for generations. These rugged and independent people have been learning to work together, and already they're gathering their first harvest. The spirit was released and set to work by the coming of the Aga Khan Rural Support Program in 1983. The general manager and the inspiration of the program was an able and devoted expert in rural development, Shoaib Sultan Khan. His conviction was that given the impetus and the right framework of support, these villages could manage their own affairs, make their own way to a better life. They had to form a village organization that must be effective, lasting, and fair to even the poorest of them.
पाकिस्तान में जहां पर के छोटे छोटे किसान हैं, वहां पर अगर बराबरी और ताउन का निजाम न किया जाए तो एक ऐसा निजाम उभरता है जिसमें कि कुछ लोगों को तो फायदा होता है, तमाम लोगों को फायदा नहीं होता.
The program's approach was simple and direct. The diagnostic survey is the key tool in initiating the rural support program strategy. It's a series of interactive meetings between villagers and the AKRSP team. The three phases of the diagnostic survey are called dialogues. The process begins with a first dialogue. The villages of Chaltbala have already held a second dialogue. Here, water is to be piped more than 1,000 meters, from an irrigation channel on one side of the village, all the way over to this area, known as Kurkundas, the barren lands. Now the villagers are ready for a third dialogue. This explores the terms of partnership between the Rural Support Program and the new village organization.
आपको याद होगा चेयरमैन साहब, जब 12 जनवरी को हम यहाँ आए थे तो आपसे जो गुफ्तगू हुई थी उसमें जो आपके साथ छल्त-बाला और छल्त का जो इलाका है और आगा खान देही इश्तराकी प्रोग्राम के साथ जो इश्तराक की बात थी, उसमें पहली शर्त ये थी कि आप ऐसे मंसूबे की निशानदेही करें जिससे कि ज्यादा से ज्यादा घरानों को फायदा पहुंचे. आपने एक जो कुरकुंदास की आपकी स्कीम है उसको सैराब करने की, उसकी निशानदेही की है और उसका जो सर्वे है वो हो गया है. तो क्या आपको मंजूर है? ये स्कीम आपके लिए है.
The senior engineer explains the results of the second dialogue. He details the costs for materials, wages and maintenance, and these are discussed until everyone understands and agrees.
अयर भी सोचते हैं तो बात पतियों को भी शुरू को पर जमीन हम तो झगड़ा जेके आते शर्त है. अगर सोच मीटिंग तो दोबारा तो अते कार्रवाई अतो को मुझो तो ये करनी मीटिंग जो अलावा कुछ शायद अराइन के सोच हर मीटिंग में जा होगा तंजीम मजाहनत तो जेक में जगह बचत था ये पड़ा था. बचत मतलब आरएसपी में साथ ताल्लुक थी. सोच दो में की बचत से एक पॉइंट सोच तो क्रिएट था. अगर मीटिंग में थे तो जाते बस आज की कार्रवाई असही रसोई ताल्लुक खत्म है. कहाँ से काम सुन लिए हैं आप? छल्त-बाला वालों ने अपने वो सदर, सेक्रेटरी और मिसाली किसान चुन लिए हैं. सदर कौन है आपका? लतीफ साहब. आइए लतीफ साहब. तो मैं लतीफ साहब को क्यों चुना है आपने सदर? मतलब ईमानदार भी है. सेक्रेटरी सेक्रेटरी कौन है? आइए एहसान आगे. एहसान अली साहब भी मंजूर है. अच्छा, आपके मिसाली किसान कौन है? आइए आइए छोड़ दिया आपने.
साहब आप कितनी वक्त है आपकी? तो काश करते हैं और कुछ भी करते हैं? हाँ सर। अच्छा, तो क्यों ये इनमें क्या खास बात है, क्यों आपने इनको चुना है मिसाली किसान?
ये पक्का जमींदार है सर और मालवाशी का काम भी अच्छा जाता
वाले फैसला करें कि आपकी मीटिंग कब होगी, हफ्तावार कहाँ पर होगी और किस दिन होगी?
हमारा मीटिंग नहीं होगा सर, जुमा के दिन 4 बजे होगा।
अच्छा, जुमा के दिन? तो आप सब लोगों से पूछे ना।
सब लोगों को पता है सर,
जुमा के दिन 4 बजे और कहाँ पर होगी?
लंबरदार का घर में ही हमारा वहाँ पर होंगी। तो उन 4 तंजीमों के जो
Once the villagers agree on the terms of partnership, the Rural Support Program normally hands over the first installment of money for the new project. But here in Chalt, an argument is developing. One man has tried to get control of the new organization by insisting that the check be made out in his friend's name.
सबसे पहली चीज तो ये है कि जहाँ तक आगा खान देही इश्तराकी प्रोग्राम का ताल्लुक है, उसकी नजर में जिम्मेदारी जो है वो पूरी तंजीम की है जो पैसे वो दे रही है। हमारी नजर में जिम्मेदारी ओहदेदारान की नहीं है। जहाँ तक चेक का ताल्लुक है, चेक किसी की एक आदमी की जेब में नहीं जाएगा। ये चेक जो है वो विलेज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के नाम है छल। चेक जमा होगा बैंक में या जो भी आप फैसला करेंगे।
उस वक्त तक ये चेक नहीं मिलेगा तब तक हम पानी का मंजूरी नहीं देंगे। ये 1,10,000 मेरे जमीन से गुजर कर मेरे कूल से पानी जा रहा है। उस वक्त तक आपका इत्तेफाक नहीं होगा, उस वक्त तक हमारे पास नहीं आएंगे, खत्म पानी नहीं देते। सही बात है। हमारे पानी से, हमारे कूल से हमारे जानी माली कुर्बानी देकर रॉबर्ट कूल निकाला है। इनका कोई हक नहीं है इसमें। उस वक्त तक नहीं आएंगे, इनकी तंजीम बराबर मुकम्मल नहीं होगी।
कलित गावाल तमाश निवय कलिबेन हर कोमक निसवय अनु शरारत अनु वतनर असई को गवर्नमेंट से या हुकूमत से या जे के दिगिने से गाना शरारत न अनि आवाम बूटे से रहे त्या एक क्या दू मनुष्य से रहे की जगह अनुशने से ठीक है नहीं हमें असई मंजूर है सदरी पे से कार्टून थी ने
ये जादे में बुझे है स्कूल के इन एक्सपेरिमेंट बुझे है एक्सपेरिमेंट फिर रोज बुझने रोज बाना हाँ चल गयो मैं दापट नहीं दाता से एटी वो नहीं किसी ने एटी दाता से को
In the end, the people decide that the check should be in the name of their new organization, and money can only be withdrawn when the whole organization says so. For the people of Chaltbala, this is a major step forward. The first installment is handed over so that work can begin. In hundreds of villages all over the program area, the spirit of self-help got to work. Everybody wanted to take part, to have a share in the enterprise. In Hanuchal, they built a new irrigation channel to carry the runoff water from a glacier in the next valley onto barren land. They had to hack their way for 4 kilometers along the sheer cliff face. Hard, hazardous work. The project took 4 years to finish, and now at last the arid ground gets its first taste of water. All over the program area, the work was being tackled with the same determined energy. These are not construction workers, they're farmers. They've never handled drills or compressors or dynamite before, but they're building a link road that is 40 kilometers long. Their village, Shimshal, is 3 days' walk from the nearest road, so completely cut off that it was once used as a kind of open prison for rebellious subjects. They're so keen to get the work finished, they work in 20-day shifts, living on the site, moving mountains. The Aga Khan Rural Support Program now operates over an area twice the size of Switzerland. In 5 years, 800 village organizations have been set up. They've built irrigation channels which have created thousands of hectares of new land. And across the faces of these daunting mountains, they've carved hundreds of kilometers of link road. But the project is not the point of the program. It's only the first solid proof of what the organized village can do.
लेकिन आम जगह इलाका आलन की शायद बस एक सड़क थोड़ा या एक सड़क थोड़ा से तो ये इदारे थोके कोशिश ने AKRSP कास मुस्तकिल तोम गांवी डेवलपमेंट जारी छुरी थे.
It's the organization itself that is the heart and lifeblood of the development program, the centerpiece of the director's vision. Shoaib Sultan Khan urges on the villagers of Pasu. He tells them this is only the beginning.
लेकिन क्योंकि अब आपकी एक तंजीम बनी है, कुछ लोग तो है ना तंजीम में यहाँ पर, तो उनको ये जो जिम्मेदारी है वो आपको सौंपनी चाहिए कि भाई ये 5000 कनाल जमीन है. देखिए ना, जितनी जल्दी जमीन आबाद होगी उतनी जल्दी आपकी आमदनी होगी. जितनी आप देर करेंगे उतनी आपकी आमदनी बाद में आएगी.
वो हनीफ दम चीज की खंग दफ्तर कबूल नशीद किंसा खुजान दस्तान ये मार गर गए खुजान दस्तान नशीद उजा वक्त आबाद सारम जमीन जुन्नात आवाज की बरकत है आबाद सारम يكون उस खल्क नवुजम दमियाना.
Developing the land is a long-term process. Water, rock and powdered stone will not grow crops. The soil here has literally to be created. Alfalfa comes first to feed the livestock and nourish the ground. It takes nitrogen from the air and fixes it in the earth. Trees are planted to hold the soil, break the wind, and in years to come provide fuel and timber. For Syed Shah, the joy of seeing a crop on his own patch of land came late in life.
My name is Shah. موجود زمین آیت هم از پدر کار باشه مزوری کار انجام ناوی کنید ایت تونو دست رونست. زری پس زری پولیسن ساسود این بالای روپای این دادیه آینه نه وای رابطی تینست. مال مکت نش مزیک نش خالی نزمین آباد تینست. آینه ایک نه ایک شکواموس. آینه أنا داشتن وی لوگو دادن وی تموس سبزی وی تموس زمین تو مال ایدین آباد تنکه به مال تنه.
He is 86 years old, and every other day he climbs 5 kilometers up the steep mountainside to walk in paradise. These women are from Khyber, which has one of the most active village organizations. It has taken advantage of the entire range of opportunities offered by the program in areas of credit, agriculture, livestock, marketing, and of the women's program too. Their initial project was an irrigation channel to bring water to an area so barren it was known as the forest of boulders. And these are the boulders growing in the forest now. The land was given to the women's section of the organization, and the women are managing it together. They took a loan from AKRSP for seeds and fertilizer, and are growing vegetables never grown in the northern areas before. All of the vegetables will be marketed by the village organization. This is a new variety of wheat introduced by the program. It not only gives better yields, but has survived a rust virus that ruined an entire harvest in the neighboring village. Now Khyber supplies the surrounding villages with seed. Khyber demonstrates perfectly how, to be effective, there has to be an organization, and it has to belong to the village. No outside agency could hope to know about and respond to the needs of these small farmers, and no individual farmer could know about or take advantage of the different forms of help available from the program. The Khyber organization has selected no fewer than 8 villages to go for training, each to learn a different skill, and to acquire knowledge which they will bring back to share with their neighbors. These enthusiasts are sent to the AKRSP training center in Gilgit. Not only do they acquire expertise, refresher courses keep them up to date with the results of research and any new forms of assistance that may become available.
ये काश्त के वक्त दिया जाता है, ये काश्त के वक्त दिया जाता है गंदम के बीज के बराबर.
On this part of its new land, Khyber has planted 8,000 fruit trees. The orchard is being managed collectively. Instead of each farmer having to make the journey to tend his own few trees, the organization is paying their specialists to look after them all. The village buys cuttings from the AKRSP nursery in Gilgit and grafts them onto local trees to produce apples firm enough to withstand the punishing journey to distant markets. When the crop is sold, members will decide how the profits are to be used. Din Ali is Khyber's specialist for the tree nursery.
Ja kolum tanzim aram through Gilgit, jar yani AKRSP kuta aikinum kuta sabak sing yad ne akola da jim watan sis hirgusuyonar o shabab. Ja kuta kas bila ja budding chaba, ja harbesan gono, ja distan div shaba, ja akhir rogdam har durwa ne kuta galgum algo isprem preganaba.
Livestock is the village's greatest source of wealth and income. The animals live outside year-round, summer in the high pastures, winter around the village. Poorly nourished, they have, until now, been decimated by disease. The man trained to handle the problem is Mohammed Hamid.
तो इल्मदान जा वैक्सीनेशन शुरू तबा मी खोल है ज्यादातर ब्लैक वाटर है बीमारी जारी बिला यार 30% वैक्सीन बरा बेशल इलाज शुरू है तुम 5% बस जा कोर्स नदान इन शुरू लुगते प्रॉब्लम जार बिलुम के सिस आदत अपिम उजरत तयाउमन काफी गड़बड़िंग तुमन तुम बाद साल अन्य सर सिस आदत तुमन मन जेम उजरत बाकायदगी का जो शुरूत में जा जेम दुरुस्त में दायम जेम उजरत याय में जेम अवर खजी दिवा से शुक्रिया विद्या.
More and more villages are willing to pay their specialists to make sure the services continue. Senam Gul is trained in the care of poultry, which is becoming a vital part of the economy. New, more productive breeds are being introduced, and new methods of care. In Khyber, the village organization has been able to make use of every available form of help offered under the program, from soil development to the marketplace. Farmers of the northern areas could never hope to buy or hire machinery. This is the way that still, over most of the country, they thresh their wheat. It's a slow, tiring job that needs to be done at the busiest time of the farming year. Often the cut wheat lies on the ground until it's ruined by frost or eaten by pests. A condition of partnership with AKRSP is that every farmer must save regularly. The money is gathered 1 rupee at a time, but it means the village organization has enough collateral to raise loans, and they pay them back. So far, the rate of repayment is 99%.
अचानक हम लोग ट्रैक्टर थ्रेशर निम खलेरे थ्रेशर के उसका तमाम वतन सिस्वनो गट्टी मनु मेरे बरास और ऐसे हरकत नहीं है बुट तमाशा बुट में मेरा अजब गनी में al tolum ete sathab barasate tabam mi kute fasal de manu geyar me bilum geyar manas kute bachabni me de dene
नीमकात एसेट मिनिमे ट्रैक्टरन हां खरीदत और थे शरका दुश्मन Nuke dime ese tekter ke teşar dusiyas ke sanmen ke dadekinda khurus mala ne dimen thi fatten ke huyesan और buani tet filtertan me be khodat zarur meni jargai meni sho hafta tum altane dipti chibum फायदा बसा मनासान असा खर्च मनासान और मी उन लगे तंजीम लगे ऐसे हर मीटिंग वो बयान जब के खुद खुद हफ्ता और मी खुद फायदा तो सुबह खुद हफ्ता और मी खुद खर्चा में नहीं भी मोहम्मद वाल रमजान 2 और 13 मिनट ने खर्च में नहीं भी 2 घंटे 13 मिनट 290 रुपये नहीं भी और बनली वालद हसन अली 30 मिनट खर्च में नहीं भी 45 रुपये दुआ से भी
Credit was something that these villagers never had to understand. They had no chance of getting any. Already the village organizations have saved over $2 million. With that kind of backing, they can take out 5-year loans to buy machinery or develop land. Growing crops is one thing, getting them to market quite another. These farmers have to learn the hard facts of the marketplace, about demand, about getting their crop to market at the right time in the right condition. The wily merchants will always want to buy in a glut and sell in a shortage. Bad marketing can leave the farmer with only losses for his labor. The marketing specialist must try to make sure that doesn't happen.
शुरू लोग उते गिरा में हम इस पैदावार अनबिम के इके पैदावार हिन वन हिन सिसे ईगा शुचो में तेज तुम सफर खराजात इन बस में भी तुम गिरा में सिसे गटी नुमान को कगाश तुमन हिन सिसे नुमाइंदान एरुमन सफर खराजात इन कम मनी में दाका का तुम इन गिरा में चिंग गटी नुमान एतसका इके खराजात इन हिक के कम मनी में तेलटे हुंजुलो क्लस्टर शक्ल लो मी को मार्केटिंग चबान आमित तुम अखराजात कम मना सका का मार्केट अमित रेट मिला कि इतने सही कीमत तुम जमींदार शोर और 600 में आसानी में मिला
जो है ना उससे कुछ नहीं निकलेगी.
The program is testing new ways to avoid the risks of taking fresh fruit to market by preserving and processing. This jam factory in Gilgit was started with technical assistance and a loan from AKRSP.
ढकने को अपनी तरफ सीधे हाथ पे जो है ना इसको इस तरह आपने कस लेना है ताकि इसके अंदर हवा न चला जाए.
Apricots are a fragile and perishable crop, and dried apricots fetch a far higher price than fresh. The sulfur tent was designed by AKRSP and modified by the marketing specialists. Now he's teaching village women how to do the job themselves. It's not exactly IBM technology, but it's perfect for the people, the place, and the job it has to do. The seed potatoes from Khyber are cleaned and graded in a machine developed by the program. They're such good quality that the Punjabi buyers have driven 1,000 kilometers to buy them directly from the village. Under these conditions, it's the farmers who hold the advantage. In the northern areas, the women live close-bound lives, isolated by tradition, childbirth, and work. Between the livestock, the land, and the home, their working days are much longer than those of their men. Most will bear between 4 and 8 children. They never leave the village. Only 1 in 50 can read or write.
Spot nezen gejutat ki sahar gizen khun bar bishven yani khibareptun finanis yani fugel rechen şu şıpkatın şu çatır şu kala khasmi gebsaren kala petsaren yani fuezin vozum fuzot bidur çoy yakın vozu prechen katrepa şu kala şu yem hikmayet yem jupnet ger şemnet yem bokhen bütün khibaret zango zen mulki yakine teştakrosta.
Opening doors for women of the northern areas is not easy, but it's something the program is trying to achieve. In some villages, women are coming forward, asking to participate, to be trained. Women's sections of these village organizations are taking joint responsibility for vegetable plots, poultry and livestock management, plant and tree nurseries, fruit and wool processing. There are now 136 active women's sections in the program area. For the first time, the problems in women's lives are being discussed in the open. The variety of opportunities open to women and their involvement in the organized life of the village are increasing. But a combination of social and economic activities that will significantly change their pattern of life is still a long way off.
Yani skujon rachte, skujon vishbuch. Mola rahmat ke tanzimi shet kani vish kuli chizi aber rativit.
In the mountains, all of the resources needed to survive are scarce: water, land, and forest. With long, bitter winters, wood is precious. Most villages have traditional forest land, sometimes a 3-day walk from the village itself. The trees are hard to protect. Poaching by outsiders and cutting the trees for fuel and timber have meant the forest has been disappearing at an alarming rate. The 6 village organizations of Chout decided to stop the reckless felling of trees. Their forest committee appointed tree police to arrest anyone caught cutting down trees without permission. AKRSP's frontline troops are the social organizers, each with 50 villages to supervise. Noor Mohammed has spent the last 4 years constantly on the move, living up country.
एसओ का रोल इस प्रोग्राम में एक पुल की तरह है जो मैनेजमेंट ग्रुप और गांव वालों के दरमियान पुल बांधते हैं और एसओ यह है कि उस सूरत में उनकी मीटिंगों में बाकायदा जाता रहता है और जो भी प्रोग्राम में तब्दीली आती है वो बाकायदा उनको ब्रीफ करता रहता है और अगर कोई उनके इज्तिमाई इंतजाम में किसी किस्म का कोई प्रॉब्लम या आपस में कोई झगड़े वगड़े हों तो ऐसे कोई कोशिश होती है कि वो बाकायदगी से पहले वो सॉल्व हो ताकि सॉल्व होने की सूरत में तंजीम सही तरीके से चल सके और जो उनका इंतजाम है वो सही मानों में चल सके.
Once a month, the social organizers meet headquarters staff for planning sessions. There are questions of the here and now: how to strengthen the marketing operations, how to improve the quality of the mountain pastures, how to find new sources of energy to replace the burning of wood. And there are questions of the longer term. The biggest of all, how AKRSP will be able to withdraw, leaving behind effective local institutions capable not only of survival, but of growth. The managers of the village organizations meet regularly in Gilgit. For many, the journey is difficult and long, but for all, it is the high point of their month's work.
At
this meeting, Green Jan boldly takes the opportunity of reminding them that their women have problems too.
मगर ख्वातीन जमा होती हैं मगर उनको अपने मसाइल के बारे में इतना अच्छी तरह मालूम नहीं होता कि गाँव में क्या मसाइल होते हैं। इसीलिए मैं आपसे गुजारिश करती हूँ कि जहाँ आप मीटिंग करते हैं अपने ख्वातीन के बारे में भी ज़रूर सोचा करें। मैं आपसे गुजारिश करती हूँ कि आप भी कोशिश करें और अपनी ख्वातीन से मिलकर काम करें। वो वक्त तो हमें लगेगा कि मगर इस वक्त में भी आप अपनी ख्वातीन से ज़रूर भरपूर ताउन करें।
ये है ILC 83, ये भी बहुत अच्छी है। इसके तने भी बड़े बड़े और लंबे लंबे हो गई है। इसका मतलब ये होगा कि हमारा वहाँ माल मवेशियों के लिए इसका भूसा भी ज्यादा होगा और साथ साथ दाने भी होंगे।
These are farmers talking to farmers, learning from each other. But here they sense the scale and the strength of the changes taking place, not only in their own village, but in 800 villages all over the region. The General Manager also meets regularly with other members of the Northern Areas Development Coordination Body to make sure the programme's efforts complement what the government is doing. 5 years ago, these farmers lacked so much: land, water, skill, tools, capital, leadership. In 5 years, they have in some measure acquired them all. But the greatest gain is the hope, the new spirit that can be felt in every village, the spirit of confidence, confidence in themselves and in each other. A farmer's life in these northern areas will always be hard, but there's a conviction in every village that there's never been a better time to be farming here and to be gathering this first harvest.